It's Friday Coffee, your mortgage man, Eric. And today, we're going to talk about HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, or lines of credit. They're all synonymous with one another. Typically, they are a second lien product. Not always, but 98% of the times, I believe they are. Yes, you can use it as a first lien product on your home, but not generally the case. And why I do not recommend them. And what do I recommend as an alternative? That is coming up as well. There's about 4 reasons or so of why I do not recommend HELOCs, why I don't push them on people. And I tell them, look, the good thing about a HELOC, right, is it's not expensive to do, low closing costs, and it's pretty easy, relatively easy, versus doing a regular mortgage or a cash out mortgage, right, as far as the headaches that are concerned. A HELOC can go pretty quick. Now, that's all the good things, right? The bad things, and again, this is my professional opinion, is this. Here we are. A HELOC is an adjustable rate mortgage. It is based upon prime, the prime rate, which is an index of rates. And prime today is at 3.5%. So when you get a HELOC, it's usually prime plus there is a margin. And that margin is usually 0.75% to maybe 6.5%. Generally speaking, they're about 2%, where the majority of people are coming in as far as credit score and the loan to value. If you could picture this graph, a matrix with credit scores and loan to values, 60%, 65%, 70%. Okay, so the higher the risk, the higher the loan to value, and the lower the credit score, right, the higher your rate's going to be. Nonetheless, it is still an adjustable rate mortgage, and we have to be careful with them, right? If we learned anything about the past, the housing implosion of 2008 and all the exotic mortgages that were given out and adjustable rate mortgages and yada yada, right? And people didn't know what they were getting into, and when their loan rate finally adjusted and their payment went up hundreds and hundreds of dollars, right? That whole thing. We have to be careful and mindful of that. So do yourself a favor and look at the history of prime. Prime will adjust. It's called an adjustable rate mortgage. Prime will adjust. And give us quick examples. In 1995, prime was at 9%. 2000, 8.75%. 2006, 8.25%. 2008, 6%. Now, 2006, 8.25%. Add your margin of that 2%. You're at 10.25% on an interest rate. That's extremely high, in my opinion, on an interest rate, okay? So keep that in mind. It is adjustable rate mortgage. Second thing, annual fees. The majority of them will charge you an annual fee, $99. Third thing, it is a revolving trade line. What does that mean? This is where it tanks your credit scores. The vast majority of people, it tanks their credit scores. Why? Because a HELOC, home equity line of credit, reports to the credit bureaus as a revolving trade line, which means it looks as if, and it gets graded the same as a credit card. So, if you have a $60,000 credit card limit with a $60,000 balance on it, your credit scores are going to drop by about 80 points because the algorithms are reading you got a maxed out credit card, you're headed to bankruptcy, right? That's no bueno. Now, can you use a HELOC more wisely than the vast majority? Sure you can. You can present your case, but Eric, I use HELOCs. I don't do that to my HELOCs. I flip homes with them, and I have a $200,000 HELOC, and I come in and I use 150, and then I pay it off right away, and great. Kudos to you. But that's not the vast majority of people who get them. Probably 90% of people who get them, they're like, we want to put a $70,000 rehab in our kitchen. And they go out, get a $70,000 HELOC, and put $70,000 on it. And there it looks as if it's a $70,000 revolving trade line, a $70,000 credit card, and your credit scores will drop. Now, another item on this, number 4, I guess, if you will, is it's an interest only. So again, exotic, right? You know, they're the loans that we had back in the subprime era. You could get interest only features, which means you're not making any monies towards the principal, which is dangerous. We've learned that. But, you know, let's take your $75,000 HELOC, and let's say the interest only payment is $200, $175 a month, right? $225, something very low. And the HELOC has a 10-year draw. What does that mean? So for the first 10 years, you can draw on it, pay in, take back out, pay in, take back out. And during those 10 years, you have an interest-only feature. You only have to pay the interest on that lien, on the line of credit. 10 years are up, what happens? Well, it gets fixed into a 20-year fixed mortgage because it's a 30 total. Totally, it's a 30-year amortized mortgage, kind of, right? At the end of 10 years, what's left? 20 years. So now it gets fixed into a fully amortized principal and interest payment. So your $175 a month payment goes to $550 overnight. And that's called payment shock, right, to the consumer. This is what, happened back in '08. Part of what happened with the housing recession back in '08 was payment shock happening to these consumers. Well, I didn't realize that was going to happen. I didn't know it was going to be that much of an impact. Well, that's why I'm here trying to warn you that HELOCs are a very popular item right now because people don't want to do cash out refinances because the 30-year fixed conventional rates have skyrocketed into the 5s. Oh no. And still, look, historically, that's low. I know you're spoiled because I refied 2 years ago and I got 2.3 on my 30-year fix, so I don't want to lose it. Okay, but still understand 5.5 on a rate historically is still low. There's another alternative. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But your HELOC, 20 years, going to be fixed once it gets past the 10-year draw period. So the last item 5, why I don't recommend a HELOC is because the banks, the lender, the people that gave you the HELOC can freeze your HELOC at times of crisis. Happened in the pandemic. They froze them. It happened in '08 in the housing recession. They froze them. It happened in '01 when the 9/11 attacks happened, right? And they froze them for a period of time. That sucks, especially if you were trying to access your money. And they can freeze them at their will. It just is what it is. If they are pulling your credit, soft pulls, they're monitoring your credit at all, and they believe that you're too much of a high risk for them. You maybe went 30 days late on a payment. They can freeze your line of credit. So there are some reasons, 5 reasons of why I don't believe a HELOC is a good thing. Now, like I said, can you be the 1%, part of the 1% crowd that utilizes a HELOC correctly, that you have enough other revolving debt reporting to the credit bureaus that you're not using? So in other words, you got another 10 credit cards or 6 credit cards that got 0 balances, and then you have a HELOC that you could pull 200 out of, but you only use it every now and again for 25, or you got 40 on it. Sure, just let's understand that's not the typical, right? It just isn't. It's the same thing as this, the same concept. Do you remember the neg-am loans back in the subprime days? And a neg-am loan, or the neg-am feature, or the option pay arm, to be more technical on the verbiage and terminology of those mortgage products, it gave you 4 options on how to make your payment each month. One was a normal 30-year fixed mortgage payment. 2 was a 15-year fixed mortgage payment. 3 was interest only. Well, a little risky. 4 was negative amortization. In other words, your payment was set so low that you were building, your mortgage balance was building each month, was getting higher. Now, that loan program originally, when they birthed it, was meant for high-income wage earners, commissioned employees, self-employed individuals, right, who would make a lot of money one month and then not make any money for the next 2 months. That's what it originally was designed for. And it's a wonderful product because you can make payments, extra payments towards the principal, and the following month, all your numbers are re-amortized. Unlike a regular 30-year fixed where you pay $20,000 extra to the balance this month, the payment next month is still the same, right? So the neg-am arms, or the option pay arms, was a fantastic product. Can't get them now because it was deemed exotic and, subprime land. And it really wasn't subprime if you know anything about the mortgage industry. Subprime's a whole nother feature, but it was exotic, if you will. That, I'm telling you, that loan was a fantastic loan until we started giving it out to W-2 employees who we didn't verify their income or they had any down payment, right? So it just was given to the wrong people. Wonderful product. It's almost the same concept with a HELOC. Very few people really can utilize the HELOC in the best manner. So it doesn't hurt your credit score. So you don't get payment shock later, right? So you can watch out on prime, understand prime, how high it can go, what that can do to your payments later, right? So very few people can watch that and monitor that. Now, what is the alternative? Here's the alternative. And there's really 2 alternatives. One, could you do a cash out mortgage on the first, right? Most people want to lean away from that right now because they have a 3% or 2.75% rate on their first, and they don't want to go into the 5s. Okay. The next alternative is to take a regular fixed rate second mortgage. Fixed rate second mortgages are running somewhere between 6 to 12%. That's a fixed rate. Fixed. It's not going to go up. It's not based on prime. Doesn't matter what prime does. Your mortgage payment is set for the duration of that loan. It is safe. And again, in my opinion, it's a better way to go. In today's world, most of your second lien products, fixed second lien products, are going to come in right around 7.5% to 8%. And yeah, that's because the first mortgage products are at about 5.5%. You go back 3 months, take 2% off of each, right? We were 3.5% on the first, 5.5% on the second. Look, we're no longer there now. But look, in my opinion, look, I've been doing mortgages for 23 years. I would never, ever take a HELOC on my own home or an investment property or a vacation. I would never own a HELOC. I would take a fixed rate second mortgage product. That's the alternative. Anyhow, there's the scoop. There's why I wouldn't personally take a HELOC. 5 reasons, if you will. And it is Friday Coffee with the Mortgage Man Aaron. We'll see you.